Morning, YouTube, or afternoon, whatever it happens to be where you're at. Today, I'm going to do something we've been talking about for a while. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to change the oil here at the Christmas tree lot on the motorhome. And I know people have been wanting to know how to service their RVs. And Cage right there, he wants it done. Anyway, I'm going to show you some of the things that you need to get before you get started. So, here we go. So the first thing you need is this is my magic carpet, and let me show you how this works. Come over here, and you roll it underneath the motorhome. The next thing you need is you need a big drain pan. This motorhome holds 6 gallons of oil, and the bad thing about that is that these oil pans are only 5 gallons. So one of the tricks is, and I'm going to show you here in a second, is that you can't drain all the oil at one time. So what I always do is I always save one of my oil cans, one of my ones from the time before. So you need that. That's going to go underneath. What I usually do is I keep all my stuff in trash bags. So I know some people will differ from me on what kind of filters they want to use, but I prefer these Donaldsons. I had the factory fleet ones and different ones. What I like about these fuel filters is they're all one unit. The old one was a filter, and then there was a glass or a plastic sight glass with a valve, and it always seemed to leak. So that doesn't. You need a funnel, and this one's been kind of modified a little bit, but it works really good. I choose on the diesel motor, the big motor, I use Rotella T4, and then like I say, I use the Donaldson. There's the oil filter. This is a really handy little wrench to get here for removing the oil filters. So you basically need a ratchet, an extension, and this oil filter wrench. And when you go to tighten it down, it locks down on the filter. As you can see, works rather well on these great big huge filters. So it just takes them right down, and it pulls them right off. So that's what we'll be using to do that. I guess it's time to get started. I'll show you some stuff underneath. Okay, so here we are underneath the motorhome. And there's my oil filter, which kind of looks kind of grungy, like it didn't get on there real tight last time. But anyway, there it is. And what we want to do is we want to get this bad boy off. I got the tool on there, and as you can see, it breaks it loose rather easily. And then you just kind of wiggle that off. And then this, oh boy. Laying on rocks is just a joy. You just can't help but love doing this. Let's see here. Here we go. This filter off of here. There you go. So that's the beginning. And that's where we're at for a second here. Now what I need to do is I need to get the new filter and put oil in it. So now we get out. Here's the new filter. What we're going to do is we're going to take a new gallon of oil, and we're going to fill this new filter up without spilling, I hope. And then the hard part will be getting back underneath there and screwing it on. And normally I would run the engine first if I was in a cold area. But the temperature around here is pretty much been around in the 60s during the day and 50s at night, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Need to put some of this oil around here on this edge so that it rolls up in there and it doesn't stick on there where you can't get it off next time. And I don't fill it all the way to the top because You'll see why here in a second. This is kind of the challenging part here because it's way up in there, kind of hard to get it to start, but it feels like it went right on this time. And it was leaking a little bit last time, so apparently I didn't get it tightened up. And that's one of the drawbacks to having arthritis in your thumb, but that time it feels like it went on pretty tight. Okay.
Do you want to film up in there and show them what it looks like?
Sure.
Because I'm not getting a real good angle on it. Just don't drag the strap in.
So there's what it looks like once the filter is on, and it's ready now. So let me show you the next little trick. This is really a great idea. I was tired of messing around with this stupid thing. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna drain the oil. This is my oil valve for draining. And that's all you gotta do. And let me explain to you. So I was talking about how this only holds 5 gallons and the motor holds 6. So the good thing about this is I'll drain about maybe 1.5 gallons off. I'll pull it out. I'll drain off the 1.5 gallons. And once I drain off the 1.5 gallons into a bucket, then I know that I have plenty of space for the rest of the oil, and then I'll let it drain all the way out. Like I say, it's going to be a little bit slower because I did not run the motor today. I did run it yesterday for a while though. It did get warmed up, so it's coming out okay. Not extremely fast, but it's coming out. We'll let this drain for a while and we'll get back with you. So yesterday, I didn't film it, but I'll kind of give you an oversight on how I go about this. I service my batteries, and part of servicing it is I like to wash this compartment down every time I do it because it just seems like it gets full of dirt from traveling and stuff like that. And while we're talking, I still have the oil draining, but I have this handy little thing. It's about $5 from, you get them at O'Reilly's and different places. And all you gotta do is pop these caps. It is full of distilled water, and just hold that down and it will fill it up to the required level. And that's all there is to servicing your batteries. And I check all my tightness on all my cables. Like I say, I rinse it off real good. I probably service the batteries about every 2 to 3 months. It's about $1 for 1 gallon of water, and that'll last probably a year. So it's pretty cheap, pretty easy. You don't get super battery acid down. It is something you should always take care of, because if you don't take care of the batteries, that's over $500 and worth of batteries sitting there, and that was when I was actually working for an RV dealer. So it can be quite expensive replacing batteries. I've had people say, oh, you get all these different kinds, but you know what? These things, they last about 10 years and they work great. We haven't had any problems with them, and if I don't have problems with them, that's what I use. So then I got my new start batteries. Anyway, let me see what we got down here now. Actually, the hardest part of this job is over with. That was getting the filter out. And it's all done. And so under here, I'm going to go ahead and just shut this valve off again. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. And as you can see, there's not 5 gallons in there. It's probably about 2. The secret is this carpet. This used to be in front of the fireplace in our house, and that's why there's all these little burn holes. But the thing is laying on rocks and stuff can be very painful. And normally what I would do, because I usually have to do this in a campground. So I'm real quiet. I sneak underneath there. I open that valve up and I let it run. And in about the time it's all done, I slip under there, pull it out. I've got the filter on, everything's ready to go, and then I'm over there filling oil. People come over, they don't even know I did it. So let's see how much oil we get. I save these. I save a couple of these so I can pour this back in. And of course, if you're gonna buy oil, Nutella, Walmart's probably the best place to buy it. It's gonna be the best price. And I got all the oil I needed today to service the generator and service this, and I bought some tranny fluid for the fuel tank, and I bought grease so I could grease the front end. I bought everything. It was about 120 bucks. The filters kind of get you a little bit, but actually the Donaldson filters are not too bad. I think I got about $120 invested in all that. So that's a little over a gallon because they don't fill these jugs all the way, and that's almost to the top. Pretty close. So there's that. And another thing good about Walmart is when you're all done, you can take this back to Walmart and they will take the oil back. So this goes back underneath, and I'm just going to let it sit there until it quits dripping, and then we're ready to add oil. So now that I kind of want it to pick up speed a little bit, I'll go ahead and take this cap off. Hopefully get it off. There we go. That let a little air in the room there. Had to change my radiator cap the other day because it was allowing pressure out, but it wasn't allowing it to go back in. So hopefully the new radiator cap solves that problem. We're just going to let this drip for a while. Probably take a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. It's a pretty simple process to change oil on these. You just have to, just like with the fuel filters, you just got to make sure that when you go to put the fuel filter back on, you fill it up with fuel just like this. You want to fill up the oil filter so that you don't run the motor dry of oil. We're going to show you what this is for. Okay. All right. So now we're going to add the oil. This is always kind of a tricky thing on some of these. It just depends. Mine's kind of hard to get to in here. I try to get it to stay down, lock down in here. Kind of modified this funnel a little bit. Oh, it won't stay. There it goes. Okay, I'm going to add this half gallon of oil that I use for the filter first. And we'll be combining them all. You can't get all the oil in here. Once you shut that petcock off and you've got the filter changed, pretty much it's a done deal. It's not that hard. It's really simple. Now some of these motorhomes can be really difficult to get in to fill the oil. It's just going to depend on your rig. On these A3s, they have side radiators, so you can usually pretty easily get to the motor. On the 5.9s and the Caterpillars, a lot of times they have a compartment. You open the compartment up, and that's where your filter and everything is, and that makes it real easy. But on some of the older ones, you got to go down through the top. It can be a little bit of a pain, but the price that you pay to have someone else do this is just ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Save your money for camping, driving, and major repairs, that kind of stuff. We'll combine these once we get down to the end. We'll combine them all, pour them in. So that's 2 gallons so far. This one holds 6 gallons of oil. The last gallon you can fill. The last one. This should fill it up. And then we got to do a little combining because you can't get a full gallon in there because that's as far as I can tilt it. It gets most of it, gets it down pretty far, but it doesn't get all of it. So we'll just take these and combine them all. This should be all we need in there. All right, that's 6 gallons of oil. Let's see what we get on the gauge. I got some other things I'm going to need to do. I'm going to change that filter right there, coolant, but I got to be in a different place. I've got to have a way to hold that coolant when it comes out of that filter, and I don't have a way to contain it, so I'm not going to change that now. I am going to change this one fuel filter down here, which is the water separator filter. There's another filter right by the injector pump, and I'm not going to change that one until I go to service my air filter, because it's really hard to get to with the air filter in there. And when I take the air filter out, it's really easy to get to. So that's going to be the process here. Basically, that's it. Also know that if you buy this Rotella from Walmart, you can take it back to Walmart. They'll let you return the oil to them. Now we're going to change the fuel filter. And this is the fuel filter. And there's one in there, and it comes with this little O-ring deal that goes on there. And you want to make sure that you change this. That's an important thing because it seals this off right here. So you should change it every time because they kind of get hard after a while. This is also a water separator. You can open this up and drain your water. So it's pretty nice. The other ones were there was the mount, the filter, and then a glass, well, it was a plastic jar on the bottom. So we eliminated all that. We got 2-piece now. Here's where the filter is, right here. When I crack this thing, it's going to start letting diesel fuel go. Sometimes it just keeps draining. We'll see how it does this time. Hopefully not. Maybe not. I don't have fuel running down my arm yet, so that's a good sign. There it goes. There went the seal. Seal's gone. There's the new seal. It came off with the filter. Okay, now what we got to do is we have to fuel the filter so that when I go to start it, it'll keep running. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pour some fuel in here. And by the way, I did do the generator, and it's basically the same process as what we're doing right now. Oil filter, oil. It's just on a much smaller, much easier way to do it. So it's a diesel engine. It's just a 3-cylinder Kubota as opposed to Cummins 6-cylinder. The filters are much larger on this, and they hold. You know, you need to have one of these little gas deals, and I carry a spare filter because sometimes if you find a really good deal on diesel fuel, you'll be tempted to buy it, and sometimes it's not real good. And if you've ever had a diesel with bad diesel fuel, it's not real fun. Okay, I'm going to reach in here and I'm going to grab a little oil out of here, and I'm going to put it on that seal so that it goes on real easy and tightens, and it comes off real easy. So here we go. Slip that up there. Once you get it started, pretty easy. Once it's started, there we go. Spins on. Like I say, I really like these Donaldson filters. And there it is. That's all there is to this. Also, you know, you want to check all your fluid levels every year. I service my transmission every 30,000 miles. I do that myself also. I do my own cooling system services. And I do that about every 2 years. Actually, I've done it more than that on this one, and it's really not necessary to do it much more than that. But also, the other day I checked all the air pressure in the tires. I'm getting ready. We're only rolling up to the high desert, and then we're rolling to Quartzsite, which isn't that far away. But I do like things to be tuned up and dialed up and ready to rock and roll. And then when we get to where we're going, we can take off, because we'll be going back to Arkansas. Ultimately, that's where we're headed. Hopefully for the whole summer. That's the plan anyway, if we can. And another thing I like to do is because I kind of want to clean this pan out. So the last thing I do is the diesel fuel filter, and it helps clean out all that oil. And I just pour that in with the reclaimed oil that goes back to Walmart. It's all usable. It's not a big deal for them to extract and mix all this up. As long as you don't put coolant in there, that's what ruins the oil. So you can automatic transmission fluid's good too. But this helps for me to clean this pan out. It breaks down the oil. I let it sit in there for a little while. Let this filter kind of drain out. And then once it's all drained out, then I'll wipe it down, and I got a bunch of towels that I put in there, and I keep them in there, and it kind of absorbs everything up, put it back in this plastic bag, and then it goes back into this cargo bay. So this is changing your oil and fuel filter. Like I say, I have another one I'm going to change, and I'll show you that when the time comes. We're just not going to do it here right now because I need to wash the air filter, and I also needed to change that coolant one. But I will film those for you so you know how easy it is to do. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks. Remember to subscribe and hit the like, and also hit the bell. Thank you.